think we're talking enough that we should put it in a podcast again. And then you got the camera, and here we are.
We were some fresh-faced boys.
Yes.
And
You didn't have the
more
curls.
hair on my beard and none of it on my head.
It felt like an adventure.
I can hear the music playing in my head.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button. I am one of your hosts, Alejandro, and with me is the Rain Man.
Paul, hey everybody, what is going on?
I'm hoping that the rain that's currently falling on your place is not gonna knock this recording out of commission. But how's life, Paul?
It's going well. As Alejandro mentioned, it has been raining just about every single day this week. It was raining here last week, or it was about to. The week before that, it was about to rain. So we're just in the thick of the showers of summer.
Yeah.
And hopefully this means that we don't get a whole lot of storms because it's getting it out of its system. But
Well, we're almost the year anniversary of the big storm that knocked your entire city up its butt.
So this is August, September, and October are the biggest months for hurricanes. Everything else before that is like, yeah, you might get a few, but not much. This is where I got to start keeping my head on a swivel for whatever's going to be happening. So we'll see about that.
Yeah, we gotta keep track just in case you get another hurricane that goes your way, and what we're gonna do to cover that specific week.
Yeah, we'll have like barely a week of warning, and then to decide whether it's going to be fine or if it's going to be dangerous. So
Yeah. Also, happy August. We're finally tail end of the summer and into my favorite month of the year for very specific reasons. And enough preamble for that.
birthday.
Exactly. So getting closer to 30 and consistently horrified at that realization. I mean, you're hitting 30 this year, so you're almost there.
I'm gonna be just a couple of months, well, maybe like 4 months behind you.
Yes. I was looking at when we record the show, because we've been recording on Wednesdays. Last year we were able to record it on my birthday. This year we're recording the day after my birthday. So
Well,
unless we push up the recording, but enough of that preamble, because this is the X Button Podcast, our gaming podcast that posts every Thursdays from 2 p.m. onwards, God willing, available on the YouTube channel Escape Media, as well as most audio services around the world, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at anchor.fm/escape-media. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. And before we move on, just want to throw in that last week we did that impromptu for people that listen to the show. We threw in an impromptu ranking of the entire God of War series. That I said that I was planning on doing an in-depth write-up to kind of give more of an explanation, but then I was like, we barely have any news, let's rank them now. I have done that in-depth write-up now, and it's available now at thecriticalcorner.com. First thing you will see up there in the links. So
it's the first thing in how many months or years?
God, since is this fourth thing I've written this year? Because I wrote 3 things at the beginning of the year when we were doing the when we did a game of the year, most anticipated games, and some big takeaways for the Activision Blizzard thing. And I was trying to finding synergy to if whatever we were talking on the show could also work as a written thing. So, and then we haven't done any of that. That kind of gave me that leeway to want to write something. But this time I was like, you know what? I need to warm up to that again. So I'm already planning on a couple other write-ups. Tentatively, I'm writing a farewell to the Flash TV show that announced that its final season is coming up soon. And based on some of the games that I've been playing that I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to be doing more rankings of other stuff. So, Paul, hit me. What have you been playing? You haven't been playing much.
I've been playing a lot, just of a very specialized nature.
Yes.
So, first and foremost,
for once, because you usually like
I'm
to
all over the
play
place. I love
everything.
I got really focused this week, so I'll get into that. But first and foremost, housekeeping. Of course, I've been playing a little bit of the Destiny Solstice event. I wanted to just briefly throw out a couple of thoughts on that process, because boy, is it a process, and it's interesting. I've been burning through it. I have 5 things to do, challenges before I can get the title for it. Unfortunately, some of those last ones are going to be really tough to do in these last 6
What's the
days
requirement?
that I have. The most of them are no problem. I get like one of them's doing the throne world stuff. One of them's excuse me, just getting a little bit more of the silver dust or whatever. But the last two, one of them is upgrading a full set of incandescent armor and then going through either like a raid, GM, or like some of the higher end content. So I'm like, crap, that's going to be tough.
Have fun with that.
Yep. And then the other one is going through no, just upgrading 12 pieces of armor. So I've gotten 4 of the 5, but apparently there is a way that you can load up other characters' armor pieces, and then on the one you've already kindled, you can upgrade it. So I don't have to go through the whole kindling process again. It's just don't know if I'm going to make it on that one, so I'm going to give it my best college try.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. But I'm no longer holding it very tightly. However, I've gotten really all that I wanted out of it, which is the shaders and the armor piece. I finally bought that one armor set that looks kind of like the Roman Centurion with like the mohawk. And then I might, because I was able to build up bright dust for that, and I might use the silver that I've saved up for the most modern one with the wings on the shoulders and all that, because parts of it look cool at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I haven't touched it. I was like, I'm so glad that I did my solstice grind with the armor that I really liked years ago.
Yeah, so, it's this year's isn't really that great, but some of the past stuff is good.
No, and that's the thing, like, it's like the armor is not bad, and the process to get it up to speed is much better than previous years.
I'll agree with that part.
I don't want to play Destiny right now. I just don't. I'm so burnt out on it. So that's why
you played even longer than I did. I got out when I could, and I survived because it was kind of nice sitting back into that comfort food and just headshotting things here and there, running around being goofy. But anyway, what I'm here to really talk about is I dove headfirst into the Assassin's Creed series last week with Assassin's Creed.
That's been the whole mood, right? That's all you've been wanting to play.
That is, it's really reawakened a lot of my love for the series, which cooled off heavily in recent years, and you can go back and hear all the talks that I've had about it. However, I have to give credit where it's due. So for this week, I finished Assassin's Creed Origins. I played through the Hidden Ones DLC. I finished Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I'm currently playing...
Asterisk.
Yeah. I'm getting to that, and then I'm working on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Now, I also just found out, anybody listening right now, most, if not all of the DLCs for Assassin's Creed games are on sale right now. So I was able to pick up both of the Odyssey DLCs, Fate of Atlantis and
Legacy of the First Blade.
First Blade, yeah, for just $12 each. And then Valhalla didn't have one of them for sale, but the other two, Siege of Paris and the Druid one, both for $10 each. So I was like, hey, I'll take that. That was the season pass I bought.
Yeah, Dawn of Ragnarok is not a season pass. That was its own expansion.
Right. That, which is $40. So I'm waiting on that one. But
I bought it for $30. That's as low as it got in the recent sale.
Really? So. Oh shoot. Okay, so I'm gonna keep waiting, because I mean I have a feeling, just like you said with Fate of Atlantis being as meaty as it is, I'm in no rush to buy more of that. So anyway, let me just get it out of the way with Hidden Ones was really great. DLC for Origins, because it brought back some of my favorite parts of Assassin's Creed, namely being a leader of the Assassin's Bureau and getting to kind of like see other people as part of your order, sort of leading them, helping them get out of sticky situations and stuff. I thought it would kind of pull more on that whole like brotherhood style, like getting to call them into combat with you and stuff.
They haven't done that mechanic in like forever, so that's gone.
There is in Valhalla, you can call on your lieutenant to come help you out, but that's a little different, and I don't really want to count that anyway. So yeah, knocked that out. That was really great. I agree with what you were saying. It left Bayek and Aya's storyline in a way better place than the actual ending of Origins did. So just really glad for that. And then Yeah, I kind of finished that one up pretty quickly, and I jumped straight into Assassin's Creed
Yeah,
Odyssey.
because on my recommendation, you completely ignore Curse of the Pharaohs, and I'm glad because you're leaving your Origins experience on a high. So.
I agree. Based on what you were telling me, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna like cut my losses on that, not even worry about it, and move on to the things that I'm really interested in. Because with each installment I've been playing, I remember a little bit of what I really loved about the next game, so it primes me. So by the time I finish what I'm working on, I'm actually in a really good place to be excited about the next game. So that's what happened with Odyssey. And at first, I kind of like stumbled because there was like a little bit of quality of life in Origins that Odyssey didn't have, because some
like what?
Well, not like quality of life, that's a bad choice of words, but like the organization for menus and skills and processes. Like
there's more menus in Odyssey. Way more menus.
It was kind of frustrating, and it was really hard. Even with the thing, you had to help me out with that because it was the exploration mode. It was called, I think, something different. And there were, and ended up being just 2 options. But even with that second option, the guided option on, I was struggling to find where I was supposed to be if I hadn't gone to that part of the map yet. And eventually I kind of got through it, worked through. Really fun still. Really difficult to do stealth based because they really want you to be guns blazing. Which
no. It's like they really want you to spec towards stealth. With the assassin stats. That's the thing. Like, you need to find the armor.
Right. You can't do that by itself, which was a little annoying, but the fact that you could just on the fly change the look of it made me feel a lot better. So
and that was added because if you played it at launch, that wasn't there.
I remember, and that really pissed me off. So I would hold on to really crappy pieces of armor that I love the look of because I'm like, oh, I don't want to get rid of this because it looks awesome. And
it's free transmog. You can
don't have to worry about that. So thank God. Which they actually took a step back in Valhalla for, and I'll get to that in a minute. So I continue playing Odyssey. I love Cassandra. I love the storyline for that, dealing with her mother and Alexios as the brainwashed Deimos, which was just such a cool plot line.
Yeah, it's like, and depending on who you pick, like the other sibling will turn out to be Deimos.
Wait, what do you mean? So,
if your main character that you play as was Alexis, then Cassandra would become Deimos. Because you pick Cassandra, Alexis becomes Deimos, and Deimos just works so much better as Alexis because he's more like a man brute.
He's got that like big deep voice that really works with the EVO.
Yes, Paul. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Exactly. Yeah. However, I will say, while I was playing it, it reminded me of one of my favorite gaming-related commercials, and that was when Odyssey came out. There was an Alexa, "Hey Alexios," commercial where it was like, "Hey Alexios, what time is it today?" And it's just the dude that played Alexios in the Greek armor shouting, "It is about 7:59." It was really funny, but look that up whenever you get a second if you want to laugh. So anyway, played through that. I got the family ending for that, and then I kind of took a break because I knew I could just keep plugging away at the cult, but there weren't any like very easy avenues to just go hunt them down.
Yeah, the cult thing is like, it's a long process because it takes you all over the map, and sometimes you need to investigate, do some side quests that then eventually opens up like a clue that may eventually tell you what member of the cult is, and it's very extensive compared to the Order of the Ancient, as I think it was called in Origins.
Which they're called the same thing in Valhalla now. Because that's what the Templars call themselves.
It's a thread. It's threaded. So.
Right. So it's funny though because sometimes I would end up coming across a cult member just exploring forts, and so after I'd kill them, it would be like, confirm your cultist kill, and I was like, oh shoot, okay. And so I would do that whole process, and sometimes it would like lock me out of plot lines where I'm like, okay, we'll do it your way and we'll try to do this whole process, and then I finish that, and then it immediately auto completes the next quest, and they're like, oh, I wish you'd done this my way, but you already killed him. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And just kind of moving forward. But it was nice that they are just walking around in the world sometimes, and if you just happen to kill that right person, is great. I really love the whole mercenary style thing. I wish they'd leaned into it more, but it's really fun to constantly being hunted by these people, and sometimes they just can do nothing against you, especially once you're powerful enough. So they're like 5 of them throwing themselves at you, and like you have to maybe watch out for one of them, and the rest you're just kicking off cliffs and just tearing it up.
I know you were doing the Spartan kick. Do you get one that's a further upgrade that you like charge your blade and then smash and it sends them farther away? It's even stronger than the Spartan.
Because so I found out some of the skills you don't get unless you have the DLC. Some of that was like,
but that wasn't a DLC thing. That was from the main game.
Okay, well, probably not that, or I have it, I just didn't use it because once again, I just don't like, something looks good on paper and doesn't feel right in practice, and vice versa for me sometimes.
Yeah, and I think you didn't try it, because if you had, you wouldn't have done the Spartan kick after that, I tell you.
Because I used to do like the bull rush charge and the Spartan kick, and I just love the feeling of the Spartan kick so much, especially the ragdoll physics, taking out enemies so much more powerful than me. And it's such a great like Spartan demigod simulator, as I described it to one of my friends once, and he was like, that's a great description.
Yeah. I'll say this, now that you bought the DLC for Odyssey, even if you don't do the cult the cult storyline, at least just look the ending of it, at least in YouTube, so you can get it, because that completing that ties it to the general Assassins versus Templar thread that threads the whole series. That's kind of like the origin of that, but you can watch it as a trailer, so you don't have to like search the entire, because that's a big map. Obviously, I think Valhalla is even bigger, but Odyssey is still pretty big, and I don't think you have that kind of time.
That's something that I was going to talk about as well with Valhalla, because it doesn't feel like Valhalla is bigger at all.
Really?
It does not, because it's mostly one big area, only split up by small rivers, so you can get to anywhere very quickly. And like,
that makes sense.
In a small amount of work that I had done on Valhalla, I had most of England's Eagle areas already done, because it's easy to just kind of ride in one direction until it pops up on the map, just ride over there, climb the thing, go to the next spot. And so I like booted up the game, and then most of England was like clear of the fog, and I'm like, I don't remember doing any of this. And sure enough, I hadn't played a lot of the split Ubisoft style individual storylines for each like region. And once I got kind of into it, I started plugging away. Some of them go very quickly, and some of them last a little bit longer, but they're usually like 3 little missions, and then you're off to the next area. But then I finally confirmed that there are 4 non-DLC maps for Valhalla. It was Norway, which is much bigger than I remembered. It's freaking huge when you go back to it. England, Vinland, which I haven't gone to yet, and then the free DLC, which I wanted to mention, which is the crossover between Eivor and Cassandra, called the Isle of Skye. And I don't know, you probably didn't get to watch that video yet of like their fight.
No, I've only seen the trailer of the thing, but I have never seen the full video.
Okay. So. It's great because it gives me such like vibes of time has really passed for Cassandra, especially. She's got a totally new outfit which looks fantastic, and it's more geared to like the cold region.
With, and she has a hidden blade this time, because she no longer she doesn't have the
she doesn't have the spear, but
there's a reason for that.
Similar. I was gonna ask why, which is really funny. I should have taken a picture of it, but you can get the full unbroken spear of like the hero's spear, and it has the same end, the Leonidas spear, but for Cassandra's, which is like a good 6-inch blade, I equipped it, and it's this tiny little thing in the shape of the assassin symbol, and I'm like, this is bull crap right here. I don't know what they were thinking with that, but anyway, you can also get one of Cassandra's swords and like other Cassandra related, Odyssey related equipment. So anyway, yeah, Valhalla's fun. It's got some issues still. It's almost impossible to do stealth sometimes. The druids specifically, their faction will instantly notice you, and apparently there's a glitch where if you do an assassination, it will not allow you to do like the detection phase where you can get out of it.
Well, there is an option in the options menu where you can increase the stealth.
It's an actual, I've done that to like the extended amounts and everything, and it's an actual known glitch that they just decided not to fix. It's like there's threads all about it, that they broke the stealth in the game in some ways, and later on I was able to upgrade it. But for that area, for whatever reason, it just wasn't working out for me. I don't remember what I Googled to find it, but did you find anything on your first search?
AC Valhalla's stealth mechanics feel broken.
It is.
It's in the Reddit Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. So there's just like these issues where apparently it'll automatically put you into combat phase after stealth killing an enemy when nobody else is around, and then they just automatically know where you are.
A year ago, believe it or not, stealth is far better now than it was at launch. Previously, it was almost impossible to walk into distrust areas without being instantly set upon by the entire town guard. Now it is more of a lottery. Sometimes you'll get away with it.
The distrust areas are fine. It's the red areas where they'll auto find you.
Yeah, it says the main issues I still have are enemy detection bars move much too quickly and never return to column, which means hiding spots are an irrelevance. As you describe, sometimes it just doesn't work. You take a leap of faith into a haystack and the entire camp instantly knows you're there. Stealth is almost pointless anyway, as there are no penalties for being spotted. You may as well just wade in as a blur of access. In short, I agree. Stealth in AC Valhalla is crap.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I was going to go with that. And it's fun to do later on when you can actually figure out how the cone of approach kind of works, but for the most part, it's like you're going to be playing as a Viking and you don't want to deal with stealth, which oddly enough, sometimes I still want to try stealth, and sometimes
because it's an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, it's an Assassin's Creed game, and especially with this one being set so similarly in time to the first one, it makes me want to go into that.
And not only that, it was this is the one that added the one-hit kills more immediately again as an option, because before you had to spec towards that. So it's kind of ironic. We bring in back full one-hit stealth kills, but hey, stealth is broken.
But they argued that there's a warning if you click it that says this is not our intended vision or something, where it's like, oh, this isn't how the game is supposed to be played.
They still put it out, so
what are you talking about? This is an Assassin's Creed game too. What's the point of having this whole stealth process if you can't one-hit kill enemies for like getting the reward for the patience? You know, it's the same thing with like Hitman, except they don't penalize you for being good at stealth. They just penalize you for doing the opposite. So anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox now, but I've been playing 3 separate Assassin's Creed games, and I had so many thoughts on them that I had to get through all of that. So yeah, that's everything that I've been playing, and I'm going to keep playing all that plus the DLCs after this. So Alejandro, what are you playing?
I finished The Last of Us Part 2 a few days ago. It's definitely, I forget how long of a game it is, but now playing it now much more removed from all its controversy and the year it came out, and I still stand behind that game is a freaking masterpiece of storytelling, of visuals, of production value, and probably the most powerful thematic, like the most powerful use of themes that for the people that it resonates with, it leaves you reeling and depressed afterwards in a way that no game does. And it depends on, like, if you want your games to really make you feel and stick with you, is like, this is awesome. If you don't like that, then definitely it's like, I can see why some people are like, yeah, I don't like this game making me feel these things. But it resonates. Like, I'm seeing more any take that this game says that it's just like dark and misery, it's like completely missing the forest for the trees of how much it themes itself around themes of PTSD and forgiveness and the importance of love and always never leaving things unsaid. That now being able to like really analyze how much of that is themed throughout the entire game, even in this section, a lot of people don't like playing because you're forced to be put into the shoes of the people they're absolutely asked to hate. and seeing how much that is what prevents this story from just being a stock revenge tale. I still stand behind that. This game wouldn't have worked for me had they not put you in the 10 so hours you have to play as Abby halfway through the game. It's like if this had just been an Ellie game, it would have just been a stock revenge tale, and it wouldn't have been as good. How they did it, I think it's the way they should have done it, because it just can incite more conversation. It can incite different reactions depending on what you think that the point they're driving towards to is. And I feel this is Naughty Dog's like magnum opus. It's like what they have attempted is like it's the kind of braveness I see in I want to see more in AAA games that I doubt many people will want to pursue, especially because of the way this game was reacted to. And yeah, it's like I have no regrets. I said that was my favorite game in 2020. I stand by that. I think this is one of my favorite games of all time. But afterwards, I was left like I spent like 3 or 4 hours, kind of like in a state of sobbiness after I finished it. It's like it leaps you, like it really, it's a gut punch of a game. And to try to find the antidote to that, I went to another Naughty Dog game that I already kind of started. I mentioned it last week because I was like, I want to see how this plays in PS4, and I went back to Jak and Daxter Precursor's Legacy, the very first one, and in one sitting, I literally beat Last of Us that day, and then started playing this, and I beat it immediately. Also, Jak and Daxter was like the perfect antidote to go from like the very somber tone that I was with Last of Us to something like completely 2000s cheery, full of colors and the drums and the trumpets and the cheery feel good vibe. I'm so angry I never played this game when I was younger. I was like, this is Mario 64. This is like a modern version of that kind of Mario 64 style platformer. And it's so freaking good still. It's like mechanically so solid. It's like it's so well balanced. And it makes me want to go back and platinum it, because it's just about getting all the stars, aka the precursor items. And it's just so joyful that the level variety for like a first attempt for this kind of game, I was like, man, Naughty Dog really put it all in this first game. And it's still it's so excellent. And right now it's available in PS Plus Premium if you don't want to like buy it for like $15 or in the $40 collection that includes all 4 games.
Which is often on sale, by the way.
And it's often it's often on sale. Sometimes the whole collection drops for $20. So yeah. I would definitely recommend that. Then there's the sequel, Jak 2. I had already commented to you because I had seen a few difficulty specs before. I was like, but I don't know what possessed Naughty Dog to follow up Jak 1 with a game so horrifically hard at times and so tonally different and evolved that it's like, I sent you a screenshot of the Eurogamer review. It was like, it felt like Jak 2 was definitely a game that they were like, okay, a lot of people loved the first one. Let's see what were some of the things that people didn't like. And they latch on to, oh yeah, the first game is too easy. Oh, it was too easy. Let's ramp up the difficulty too and make games like Elden Ring and Dark Souls like feel like baby steps. Because the horrific checkpoints that game has sometimes where they don't even exist. You just start the whole level again. Yep. Over and over, and it's
some
just
of the levels can be 20-30 minutes long.
Yeah.
So you'll just
the 20-30 minutes long ones has small checkpoints later on. I can confirm that. Okay, but it's just like the more ones that are packed with enemies and so much danger anywhere that it's just you have to be in the mindset of I gotta go do this again and again and again. It's like it's taking like the Crash and Naughty Dog's Crash Bandicoot games. Most of them had levels that were super hard sometimes. And it's just about attempting again. Eventually you'll get it. This is taking that philosophy and then multiplying it by 10, and it's like in this day and age, it's like that doesn't hold up. But my god, like the things that Jak 2 does well, I mentioned it yesterday because yesterday I had like a complete rage moment that I was cursing, almost broke, like I almost threw my controller to the TV. My brother came forward. He's like, is that really that hard that you're screaming? Did this like stupid level where you're in some docks that you have to shoot your way out of it? I hate that I mentioned I hate that I hate the parts I hate as much as I hate them, because the parts that I really like about this game, how that was, I couldn't believe that was before Spider-Man 2 we got a game that took GTA and made a GTA style game. Yep. And mixing it with platforming, mixing it with little Ratchet and Clank, because you can shoot guns in this one. You couldn't shoot in the first one.
You can't aim them. That's for
and
sure.
Yeah, it's just it's auto aim. It's like because that was before Naughty Dog slowly making their way into double stick aiming. It's so funny. It's like they introduced guns with Jak 2. Apparently, they made from what I was reading, Jak 3 has more emphasis on shooting, and then Uncharted was the first one that finally gave them like 2-stick aiming. Whenever they kept moving forward, so it's always funny to see like in design how they've been like climbing in the things that they're introducing. There's Tony Hawk in this game. You get like a hoverboard that you can pull up at any point. Just press R2 and just put it. And
way to do tricks and everything.
And grind in places. There's races that feel like Mario Kart and Wipeout. This feel because I've heard many people say that Jak 2 is their not only their favorite game from the Jak trilogy, but one of their favorite games of all time growing up. And ignoring the super hard parts.
Yeah.
Seeing that cacophony of the kitchen sink approach of, hey, what are games doing right now? Let's just add it, because there's this awesome biography for Naughty Dog that's on IGN called The History of Naughty Dog. It's like 4-parter. It was supposed to be 5 parts, and the 5th part was never completed because of turmoil that happened at Naughty Dog, and made the context of the studio completely different from what the journalist that went in did interviews and all that. He couldn't publish that anymore, but he made like a full document of the history of the studio, going from Crash Bandicoot to Jak and Daxter, and eventually to Uncharted that will lead to Last of Us. And one of the things that they were saying, that when they were making and finishing Jak 1, when they were in playtesting, final polishing in the month of November 2001, because this game came out in December 2001, GTA 3 had already come out, and also Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. The studio was like in between like their devs and playtesting. They were playing those other games, so that's why like a lot of that, some design tenets made their way into the Jak 2 design doc. That's why we have all these different disparate elements of that open world that's very seamless. And one thing that I have to like commend, especially thinking again, I've been able to like travel back in time in my mind and just thinking what it would have been like to experience this game at that time. There's like Jak was one of the first few games that it never loads. It's like it's so seamless how you can go from one point to different areas and everything is just loaded. And God of War was the other game from the Sony studios that they pushed that we're not gonna put any loading in this game. Everything, as soon as you start, if you don't die, it's like a very seamless thing. And seeing it that way, I was like, man, it's like this is actually kind of impressive, especially in its at the time very impressive cartoony graphics that we're trying to push for that Pixar quality. Obviously, now we know what actual true Pixar quality is with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and something like Kena. But just thinking that was the pursuit of the emotion engine of the PS2, and that was being realized here. And there's just something mighty impressive about Jak 2 as an entire package. The beginnings of Naughty Dog pursuing actual written storytelling, like with actual production value, dialogue, camera cuts, and all that. Like this was the start, because Jak 1 is very simple in its storytelling. This was them being like, no, I think
that Jak didn't actually need to talk in the entire first one at all.
Yes,
and then they immediately
gave him
decided to give him a voice in Jak 2 and have a lot of conversations.
And not only that, it's also funny. It's like this is also emblematic of that kind of age. It's like this explains to me why like Stranger of Paradise triggered you so much, because Jak 2 is it's like straight up Stranger of Paradise. The way you interact with some characters, how like augmented, is like, yeah, man, we have to stick it to the man. It's like with the Baron.
The fact that Jak and the leader of the Resistance dude sound like the same person, right, with the same personality is like, ooh, that's where it's like everybody had to be super edgy in that point. And I think the only reason something like Devil May Cry survived is because the main characters are in on it, so they don't take it seriously. But when something like Shadow the Hedgehog or like this or Strangers of Paradise,
that's the thing. I wouldn't put Stranger of Paradise, because Stranger of Paradise is in on the joke.
It can be, maybe the main character isn't, but everybody else is.
But that's what makes it work, because you only need something around it to be in on the joke to understand that the game understands its cheeky self-parody. It's when everyone treats it so seriously, even though it's funny, that's when it's like it doesn't work.
And this is definitely one of those points, because oh boy, it's I think Daxter might be the only ray of sunshine in that, and maybe
Kira.
like, yeah. Also, you could say the old man.
The
Gandalf,
the Gandalf like.
Yeah, I don't even remember his name right now, but just like the fact that he's just the same dude from the first game.
Yeah, that lost his memory, and then there's the other Gandalf like dude that you find as soon as you escape from the Baron prison.
Yeah.
What's up?
Oh man, so yeah, but you can see now how I played about 30 minutes of Jak 2 when I was a kid, and that stuck with me so firmly throughout so many years that I knew what game this is, and one day I would get to play it again. And the fact that I was willing to buy it on a deep sale 3 separate times throughout my life on PS2,
on PS3, and 4.
And it's like, it's just so powerful of a game, and like just driving through the world. I know some people would just play that all the time and just like drive through and see how far they can get from one side of the map to the other without
because there's no loading. There's no loading, especially when you get the skateboarding and finding places that you can grind around. It's like there is it really explains to me the kind of studio Naughty Dog eventually is. They are suckers for the little details and put in so much work. Even if it wasn't necessary, they could have totally made a sequel to the first Jak and Daxter that was just the same, just more levels, kind of like they did with going from Crash Bandicoot 1 to 2. Obviously, 2 also added extra mechanics that help with the quality of life that made going through that game more fun, because that first Crash game is horrifically hard also.
But it was still the same game.
It was still the same game. This one is like there's parts of it
a different series.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like from a movement perspective, there's so much similarities between the two games, but everything else that they added to it, and also the tonal change, it's crazy that they're still from the same series. But they really are the studio that whenever they do a sequel, especially the first sequel they really go above and beyond. Yeah. They did it for Crash, they did it with this, they did it on universally Uncharted 2.
Absolutely.
They did that. Last of Us 2 even. Yeah, same. Yeah. It's like they really pushed it. They really like pushing the envelope in a way that I don't see many studios pursuing in sequels. And it's funny to think of Jak 2 and Last of Us Part 2 kind of similar. It's like this wild swings that some people will absolutely love, some people may not. But that's just the studio they really are.
Revenge story about a very angry main character.
Right?
They're the same game.
They really are. And what's funny is that Neil Druckmann wasn't part of Naughty Dog still. He came in for Jak 3.
The fact that throughout all of the changing of hands on whoever runs it, the studio itself has stayed with the same MO and process.
Not only that, it's like,
this is the most interesting.
That's the thing. Many people that worked from Crash still work there. I look at the credits and I recognize so many names, like same art directors. It's so funny, like the game directors of Last of Us Part 2, Kurt Margano and Anthony Newman. Kurt Margano, he was just a designer for some set pieces, and Anthony Newman was the combat designer on Last of Us 1, and then they became game directors for the second game. And it's like it's all the same people that just see kind of like they keep climbing up the ranks. Bruce Straley is credited for Jak. In fact, Bruce Straley, like if you put in Twitter search Bruce Straley and then put like Jak, and then see like his tweets, you find that he's the one that designed the forest levels for Jak 2. From its look and its design, like it's really interesting seeing how that team has remained big but relatively small. That it has a lot of the same people, even though there's been turnover. Obviously, Bruce Straley is no longer there, but there's still many people that do groundwork that's still there. Like recently, we lost Josh Scher, which was the guy that was the animation director for like the cutscenes, starting with Jak 2 and forward. He's the guy that we can credit this cinematic look that Naughty Dog eventually credited. He was there for 21 years. So it's like there's something authorish about it, knowing that some teams can remain the same, especially compared to other teams like Assassin's Creed that has thousands of people in the credits. And then something here that's more, who's making those games if you like pay attention. Just look at the grounded Last of Us making of, and you'll notice a lot of those names that pop up there if you go back to play all the old games. So I love Jak 2. I absolutely hate Jak 2. I hate that it's so under my skin that I'm gonna beat it because I like it. I really like it.
I can't lie. I'm getting a lot of joy out of your suffering because of how easy you beat parts of Dark Souls and Elden Ring that I struggled heavily with, and now I'm like, peasant struggling with these things that I totally struggled with 5 years ago.
Yeah, but I'm still beating it. Just looking at the
You're
trophy.
beating it. Oh, you're past me now. It's nice to see, like
it's vindication. It's vindication. You know that it wasn't just you. It's like, look. I found a video and I posted it in our chat, and then I went through and look at the comments, seeing so many people saying the exact same thing. Some people saying that session was when they quit. I was like, I feel vindicated because it's not just me. It's like this part was badly made. So
it's rough, and I don't know how they were able to let it go like that, because I don't think it has difficulty levels at all.
No, not at all.
So it's just that's your option, and the fact that it was still a kid's game and it came out that hard to play, it kind of reminds me of how difficult we had it with Kina, but at least Kina had 4 different settings to
exactly,
choose
yeah.
from.
So let me find the quote from Josh Scherer about Jak 2 real quick, from the Rising to Greatness: The History of Naughty Dog. From
while
IGN.
You do that, I'm very excited to see you both beat this and try Jak 3.
Yeah.
Or to see if you're going to jump ship and go into Valhalla for a palate cleanser.
Yes.
Because it will be also validating to hear your thoughts as we go through that.
Okay, here's what Josh said. So there's a fair amount of debate as to the quality of the final game in reference to Jak 2, released on October 14, 2003. I know some people love its scope and the breadth of all the different activities you can do. Other people feel that it was just way too spread out, lost a lot of the charm, or lost a lot of the platforming stuff anyway. I think one thing everybody can agree on, though, is that the game is just way too effing hard.
Yeah.
So they know. They absolutely know what happened there. So
I'm wondering if obviously this existed in a time before like the devs could really get that kind of feedback and patch things in, but that's
the problem. This was pre-patch. This was the pre-patch area.
That's just where the quality of life for the collection really should have come in, where they should have added something like that. Even now, the fact that they never patched that in, we're just like, yep, this is the game. Have fun. Or don't.
I do wonder if there's something really hard about the way that game got coded that it's not possible. But
considering how long ago that stuff was, I wouldn't be surprised. But because I was talking to actually another thing that I was talking to my friend that made his game, which he's still working on after losing 50 maps, unfortunately.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I thought I told you about that, where one day his computer crashed.
Yeah, he lost a lot of cloud, but 50 maps?
50 separate maps, so he had to rebuild all the environments from scratch again.
I would quit.
He's a very persistent individual. Yeah. But anyway, so we were talking about his next project, which I was going to be working a little bit on, and he was explaining how difficult it is to put difficulty settings in there, because you have to dial every single number for every enemy to do something different and then play it to see if it works. So he's like, it's easier to put one difficulty and then like maybe later on go back to it, but putting in separate difficulty levels is apparently a much harder and more intensive process than I ever thought. So I have a new respect for people that include it.
Yeah, and I know like Naughty Dog has made, especially as a developer, there's many stories of the miracles they pulled out from the way they code that make their games not like all the games that we've seen realistically shouldn't have been able to be made based on the hardware they had, and just knowing technical know-how of coding, it's so important. And that's been the fun thing of going through this Jak trilogy. That's been the only Naughty Dog thing in my entire life that I've never played and finished. I did all the Crash games, all Uncharted games, all Last of Us games. This was my only blind spot. So, yeah, kind of like I mentioned before, that this has got to be my next write-up. And depending on when I beat it, I may impromptu rank them here in front of you before I do it.
Looking forward to it, because it makes me want to put down some of my stuff and go back through the series to try to finally finish at least Jak 2, if nothing else, because I kind of skipped 1 and I never got around to 3 because I didn't want to do it without finishing 2. But I watched one of my roommates play through a lot of the whole series, so it's like I know of it enough, but
it's still pretty good. And I understand why there's so many people that still, even though Naughty Dog is way beyond trying to do a platformer now based on the kind of projects they do, there's still many fans that be like, man, it would be cool. And that's the thing. They prototyped Jak 4 when Uncharted 2 finished and they split the teams. That was one of the things Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley worked on. They started working on design ideas of how they could evolve Jak based on the things that they learned. And you saw some of the I posted some of the art.
Even edgier somehow.
Yeah, so they were like, we can't do this because it's like this is kind of where we are right now in our lives. This is how we envision this, and we don't think that fans would like seeing this kind of interpretation of Jak and Daxter. So that's where then suddenly they saw the BBC documentary of the Cordyceps, and the same week that they went to see No Country for Old Men, and then they were like, we can do this. So
man, I still can't believe that's how easy they came up with The Last of Us. Because I know they were very vocal about like, yep, saw this thing, seemed cool, let's make a game.
Let's try it. Yeah. And look, now it's like, love it or not, especially with where the current discourse of The Last of Us is these days, which just makes me really sad.
Yeah.
The Last of Us is their biggest success ever.
It is.
Yeah,
and I mean, just the fact that 2 was talked about so much, and it's like any press is good press, holds true, unfortunately, because everyone went out and bought it to see what the big deal is about, and then they were like,
I still stand, especially if you go look at the user reviews. Many of those people saw the initial leaks and they made their own opinion about the game, and part of some of the things that happened in the game obviously did happen, but the way they were framed, like, to me, I will never forget how the running theory was like, Joel gets, spoilers for Last of Us 2 at this point, I don't care, so Joel gets killed by a tranny with a golf club. Of course,
really love that phrase.
Yes, because that's just go back, because that's the thing, like, you go look at the Angry Joe reviews, like, he was spoiled that way, and that immediately already had put him in that tone.
Yeah.
Yes, so it was like
I mean,
and it was the whole tranny thing completely wrong. But
I still have said all that I'm going to say about Last of Us 2, and I still agree with my statements beforehand. But I'm glad that you at least enjoyed it so much.
Oh yes. Because that's the thing, like, yours is like the things you feel about that game are from your experience with the game. Yours were not colored by leaks. That's what's different about you. And yours is a valid perspective.
I had been spoiled about the leaks. I don't know.
You were spoiled about Joel. Yeah, you were spoiled about Joel's death, like in a meme or something. I think it was the golf meme.
It was a meme video, and then they were like, and then they just started listing all the spoilers, and I was like, get away. I hate people sometimes, but good times.
Good times, but I can't wait for the ranking, because I feel, unlike the God of War one, I may throw you some curveballs about which one's like top and bottoms here. So
always interested.
Yes. Enough of that, Paul. So we got a few news. We got 6 items on the list. One broke near the end that I forgot to put, and I put it in there while we were like in the what we've been playing. But press X
for some news.
All right, Paul. Since you kind of love fighting games, number one's for you. Number 1, by Video Games Chronicle, PlayStation announces EVO 2022 live show and teases exciting reveals this week. This is written by by Tom Ivan from BGC. So Interactive Entertainment has announced a new live show. It will be running alongside this week's Evolution Championship Series EVO. EVO 2022, which marks the show's 20th anniversary, is being held in Las Vegas from August 5th to 7th. It features the return of competitions with players facing off in Street Fighter V Champion Edition, Guilty Gear Strive, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, Tekken 7, The King of Fighters 15, Melty Blood Type Lumen, I never heard that one, Dragon Ball Fighter C, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and I've heard of that, and Skullgirls Second Encore Tournaments. I wish I didn't know about Skullgirls.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
funny enough, that's actually how I learned so much about animation was
EVO?
GDC talk about from one of the devs that did Skullgirls animation. Yes. Anyway, Melty Blood is just another anime style fighter.
Yes. While the competitions will be streamed live via EVO's Twitch channel, Sony will also be holding its own live show from the event. Titled PlayStation Tournaments EVO Lounge, it will be hosted by players and commentators and will be viewable on PlayStation's YouTube and Twitch channels. In a PlayStation blog post, Luis Figueroa, SIE's Senior Director of Esports and Competitive Gaming, said the show will include news from a number of companies whose games are at EVO 2022. The EVO Lounge will feature top-shelf curated show coverage, bracket updates, interviews with players, and exciting content and reveals from developers and publishers such as Arc System Works, Warner Bros. Games, Capcom, SNK, and Bandai Namco, as well as the latest from the scene with pro players and casters. Last year, SIE teamed up with a new esports venture, RTS, to jointly acquire EVO. So Paul, so one of the things here about these announcements, Ed Boon from creator of Mortal Kombat came forward and said, "Yeah, don't expect Mortal Kombat 12 news here." So
yeah, that was interesting.
What do you think is going to be here?
Well, as you and I have gone back and forth they're definitely going to be showing some stuff from the Project L, which is the League of Legends fighting game, which we recently found out is going to be free to play.
Yeah, because it's League of Legends.
Yeah, and I realized how many branches they have now in different genres, because Valorant is the shooter. They have Ruined King as the RPG. They have, I think, their card game thing. I forget what that was called. Obviously, League of Legends itself, they have music, they have shows, and now they have a fighting game. So they are freaking crushing it with their branding. Anyway, so yeah, that's going to be a thing. They're revealing a new character or something. Besides that, I know we're going to have some definitely Street Fighter stuff. Definitely going to have the next Guilty Gear character pack, because they just recently finished the first set, which had a few returning characters and a few new characters, mostly from the story mode. So it wasn't like big reveals that nobody had ever seen before, outside of a couple of returning characters from previous games. Mortal Kombat 11, we know there's not going to be anything from them. Tekken 7 has long since finished their stuff, so maybe it's been about that time for Tekken to have their new game. And
Tekken 8. Yeah, Tekken 8 was part of the NVIDIA leak.
Okay. So, I'm hoping that it's going to be the next tag tournament game, which I don't know how much you know about.
Yeah, Tekken Tag Tournament and Tekken Tag Tournament 2.
Which is what a lot of people consider to be their favorite Tekken game, because it has the most characters, the most stages, and all that whole process. And 7 took a lot of that out to kind of streamline things, and then just didn't add any of it back in. So even though it now has a huge roster, it lost a lot of some of those things along with the tag process that people are hoping comes back. King of Fighters just came out, I think. I mean, like a few months ago. But it's like not soon enough for it to have too much more, except maybe some DLC characters. Fighter Z already said that was their last character last year. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, I feel like, was dead in the water, but somehow it still has players. It's fantastically made though by Arc System Works.
And no Smash.
Yeah, no Smash, because that was apparently a big drama segment, didn't they?
Yeah, it was like
pulled all of their stuff.
Yes, what's funny is that the first year that EVO got canceled in 2020, that's when there was that huge reckoning happened with the Smash community, with a bunch of the sexual impropriety. So that kind of like connected around that time, and a lot of people are saying that Nintendo is just being spiteful because Sony owns EVO now. That's like their event, which makes sense because the fighting genre really made its name in the PS4, Xbox One generation in the Sony side, specifically because Sony like really swooped in and got Street Fighter V as an exclusive. That automatically like really killed a lot of the momentum the Xbox One could have had to build a fighting game genre community, or like they did in the 360. So
well, they still have Killer Instinct,
and they completely that was exclusive to them, and they completely like bungled that because everyone was not wanting to play fighting games on Xbox.
Yeah, there's apparently a whole issue surrounding that. Some of it being the fact that the maps were poorly designed. And that, I mean, it was free to play.
It was a free to play mess. Yeah, it was a free to play mess. It was a rotating character weekly.
That's what it was. Okay. So that's just messy, and you can't really get away with that, especially not anymore.
Yeah, but now the Street Fighter 6 is gonna be on Xbox this time. At least the Xbox gets the majority of these games, so now the fighting genre can start like reblossoming again in the Xbox ecosystem there.
Yeah, so I think this is the dawn of a new age for fighting games in general, and I'm super excited about it because I would consider myself a very casual fighting game person, but I really appreciate the effort that people can go into to play one game so much, and for fighting games to be kind of built around just doing that same thing better. And it's like, all right, power to you.
Yeah, I love really impressive. I suck at fighting games, like I really suck at them, but I love the games that let me play through cool stories. That's what the NetherRealm games really spoke to me, because they really put a lot of time and effort to making their story modes really robust and were really well produced, that I could enjoy the game as is, just playing through that. my big thing right now with Capcom is that their entire roster leaked recently. So, but they're like, and they kind of acknowledge it also. But what's also funny is that are they gonna continue just trying to market this thing? Just like, yeah, here's our new character reveal. Do you probably know? But here it is.
As we've seen, you can clearly still have some hype around it because they did Guile reveal, and the fighting games community still went nuts because all you know is
the character
of what they look like, because there's going to be several different outfits, which I don't think his outfit in that was the same as what they revealed him with, and so there's going to be several of those that you can purchase, but also the moves are what people really want to see, and to see what's still there, what's not there. So even though we kind of know who might be in there, whether that's DLC or main game is yet to be seen, we know at least parts of it are surprises. So with that being said, I'm sure a little tongue-in-cheek, just keep moving forward. We're gonna be like, we're not gonna discuss that part, but hey, here's that character that you really want, and as long as those characters are good, I don't think anybody's gonna complain.
Yeah, I'm just excited for all this because this is a Sony showcase. We still don't know the official one for them, so it's like at least they're willing to do that for here, so, and not a state of play. So number 2, Paul, by Andy Robinson, again in VGC News, Sony says it believes Xbox owning Call of Duty could influence users' console choice. Regulatory docs reveal the PlayStation firm's thoughts on the Activision Blizzard acquisition. That's according to the company's official response to questions from the Brazil's regulatory body, first spotted by Reset Era, which, like many regions, is currently studying the proposed deal for approval. Along with other companies such as Ubisoft, Amazon, and Google, Sony's responses to several questions about the proposed acquisitions have been published in full by the Brazilian government. Sony's response, transcribed by BGC, mostly outlines the current state of AAA game development for the Brazilian regulator. However, large portions highlight the importance of the PlayStation firm puts in Call of Duty, a franchise which it claims influences users' console choice. Duh. In its questionnaire answers, Sony calls Call of Duty an essential game, a blockbuster, a AAA type game that has no rival. According to a 2019 study, the importance of Call of Duty to entertainment in general is indescribable, the company said. The brand was the only video game IP to break into the top 10 of all entertainment brands among fans, joining powerhouses such as Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings. Call of Duty is so popular that it influences users' choice of console, and its community of loyal users is entrenched enough that even if a competitor had the budget to develop a similar product, it would not be able to rival it. Let's just stop there, Paul.
Yeah.
This is the biggest no shit in existence.
Yeah, I want to start with a bit of a strange question: is why in the world is the Brazilian government interviewing Sony?
And that's the thing, no, because that's the thing. Like, these games are all distributed globally, so for this massive deal, the Activision Blizzard deal, to be approved, they have to like check with all the regulators around the world, and these regulators have to check with every individual big conglomerate to get their opinion and be like, should we approve this? Would this be a problem? And they have to hear the opinions.
Gosh, so does that mean that if any of them just decided not to, they just couldn't put it out in that country? Well, I guess that's why certain games get banned in certain countries, because they don't want to deal with it.
Bingo.
That's just really funny, where it's like published by the Brazilian government. Like, why do you care?
Yeah.
But that's just funny in general. So yeah, it's like you said, it's no crap. Like, come on, guys. Like,
and just to continue there. So Sony went on to explain how the huge resources Activision puts behind Call of Duty are the core reason why it believes the FPS series is unlikely to be rivaled by a competitor. Each annual Call of Duty release takes around 3 to 5 years to develop. As Activision releases one Call of Duty game per year, this equates to an annual investment of hundreds of millions of dollars, it explained. Approximately 1,200 people work in each version, and another 1,500 are involved in publishing and distribution. Thus, Call of Duty alone has more developers than most game companies employ across its entire development portfolio, including AAA studios. Also, given its plans to recruit 2,000 additional developers by 2021, Activision probably expects Call of Duty to become even more successful in the future. Let's just stop there now with this.
Oh boy, that's gutsy.
Yeah. Why do you think Sony is like saying this? Because they are panicking, like I said it would happen when this news broke in January. What was the home of Call of Duty for the last 8 years?
It was PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
They had all of the exclusive deals, the special modes and maps and weapons and skins and all that stuff. And that was the only place those would ever show up.
First, because they would show up later on Xbox.
Sometimes they never would, like that Spec Ops mode.
Yes.
That was Sony, and a few skins or whatever. But yeah, it's like, shoot, that's frustrating in itself by that point. So it's like you're gonna be reaping these benefits for so long after all that work, and then they're like, guys, I think Xbox owning them might affect where people play these games.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we're just oversimplifying the response, like, yeah, no crap, but it's like it almost, all of this is phrased almost as if they're explaining it to somebody who doesn't know about any of this. It's not really written to people like us or even casual gamers. It's just like written to somebody who doesn't play video games and wants to understand what the deal is. And that's kind of the way Sony always talks, which is really funny.
But that's the thing. They usually tend to be really quiet, but here they really went all in with, because I even caught a bunch of this story, because there's even more to that I didn't want to talk, because the more you read this, it's like, it just sounds like a company scared of the other company absorbing such a big game, and specifically the big point of being like, because of gamers association with, Microsoft now owns Call of Duty, it means that now more people are gonna go to play Call of Duty over there, even though Microsoft already said that Call of Duty is remaining multi-platform. From here on out, after the marketing for Modern Warfare 2 this year, every new Call of Duty comes out is going to have the Xbox logo, is going to say available on Game Pass, and then it means that Call of Duty, which sold the most on PlayStation over the last 8-9 years, like a significant amount of money.
Real quick, did they confirm that's going to be Game Pass?
Yeah, everything that Microsoft owns is going to...
No, like even the newest Call of Duty
always
year.
Yeah,
okay, I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
It's like Bethesda. When Microsoft acquired Bethesda, every new Bethesda game published from here until the end of existence is day one Game Pass. That's whole Microsoft thing. It's like when they own something, that goes to Game Pass.
Got it.
Okay. There's no weird licensing or any of that BS.
The one thing that I feel is either I don't know if it's like not a way out, but maybe a silver lining for Sony, is the fact that the economy that we live in is a little tricky to just buy several systems, both for affording and for the actual creation of them, which means there's literally less than there are the people that need them. So I feel like unless these are new people coming into the gaming sphere, I feel like less people are just going to jump ship and buy a whole new system. For that, because of the acquisition. Because I mean, like, granted, this might not be like the end all be all, but I feel like there's going to be less people that are like, oh, Microsoft owns them now, I'm going to drop everything and go buy a new Xbox. It's like, who talks like that? First of all,
yeah, that's Secondly, their fear.
who can afford that? Especially now, because it's like I have one and I'm like, I can't afford to go buy an Xbox no matter what exclusives are coming out over that. So I think it really just comes down to where they keep their ear to and what kind of environment they're going for, I guess.
Yeah, I can imagine the experience with games like Hellblade and Psychonauts getting all the like a next gen only version, just an Xbox, and no updates at all on PlayStation, despite those games being multi-platform. Kind of keeps them scared, because it'd be like Microsoft can be like, oh yeah, all these games are gonna be multi-platform, but the best ways to play them is with us, and we're gonna like slowly incentivize you to maybe try to play it over here, just based on previous MO.
What those incentives are going to be, because performance-wise, I feel like it's not going to be too much of a difference for like at least the modern Call of Duty.
Yeah, they look literally the same on both systems.
At this point, it's not going to be capable of it. Like maybe there might be a little bit of performance, but that's going to come down to literal hardware limitations rather than, hey, Microsoft owns this, so it's going to be automatically better. It's like, that's not really how that works. Unless you throttle the Sony version, which that's going to go over poorly. So it's like, what do you even do outside of like, hey, we're gonna give you some extra guns or skins or something, or like you can play it a little early, which, like, I mean, they've done that, so they could. I want to hear what they're going to do now.
Yeah, this is I just kept reading this for a little bit, and you need to hear this. So
Okay,
Sony went on to note that Call of Duty has been the top selling game for almost every year for the past decade, and for its genre, it's overwhelmingly the best-selling game. It is synonymous with first-person shooter games and essentially defines that category. This is also demonstrated by player engagement on social media. Call of Duty has over 24 million followers on Facebook versus 7 million for Battlefield, and over 12 million followers on Instagram versus 2 million for Battlefield. To say the least, players would be unlikely to switch to alternative games, as they will lose their familiarity, those skills, and even the friends they made playing the Call of Duty games. Again, them saying this is like, there's a tiny tinge of terror of them specifically.
Sony saying that? That's
yes.
the quotes? Okay,
yes,
shoot.
this is Sony saying it. So
yeah. No, I mean, you're right. And it's true.
I keep saying it. It's like the Call of Duty deal that they signed in 2015 to get like the maps first and all the marketing that started with Black Ops 3 and forward. Probably one of the most damaging things that could happen to the company because of how overly reliant they got over that. I tell you, if this deal, if this deal wasn't announced earlier this year, I bet you we wouldn't get God of War Ragnarok this year, because Modern Warfare is around that time, and why would they usually do? It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna make all the money in Call of Duty because everyone buys it here more in our platform, so put it there. So if you see, it's now we're seeing the after effects of Sony finally putting out a game in the fall. Finally, it's like
I don't know if I'm being needlessly optimistic, but I feel like, at least for the God of War thing, that's such a very different kind of game that I don't know if they would have to worry about that side of it. And then at least for this, we might see more aggressive tactics of this in follow-up games for Call of Duty. But I feel like at least for Modern Warfare 2, they're safe because they can't do too much after the acquisition or fear really riling people.
And the thing
up
is that this acquisition is closing next year, so Modern Warfare 2 still can operate like nothing. It's just now in the perception reality, everyone knows that Microsoft and Activision are now gonna be neck and neck. So
yeah, I think it's gonna be, as time goes on and people chill out about it, they'll start being like, hey, this thing's for only Xbox, hey, this thing's for only Xbox, until all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, holy crap, most of Call of Duty is on Xbox only, or something crazy like that.
Well, you know what was the best-selling game in PlayStation during 2021, but the top 1 and top 2?
Cyberpunk 2077.
I wish. Vanguard and Black Ops Cold War. So
yeah. Oh, I forgot about it.
So just to give you an idea, it's
I mean, shoot, it's very true. I don't know. I still feel like just the fact that they own it, the people that play Call of Duty care so little about stuff like that unless there's a tangible, like, reward they get, that they'll probably just keep playing on whatever they currently have.
It again will all depend on how like Microsoft like an Activision officially under Microsoft operates. That's the thing, but
really does. But it's really funny to see Sony panicking. And hey, maybe this means they'll be like, even if I feel like they're panicking about nothing currently, it would be awesome if they start changing their policies because of that panic, because they really need to change their policies. They need to update a lot of the processing of what they do, not mechanically, but just PR and communication and all of that stuff. So as the less secure Sony feels, the better for all of us consumers.
Yes, I absolutely love that, because I keep saying it's like right now they feel like they're in an ivory tower, but them acting like this, I think it's them knowing that that's not gonna last. So
no, and we'll see. I mean, shoot, the PlayStation Extra is one step in that right direction. Yeah,
so the Extra is really good. Premium, a little bit, but it's like that. The Extra is at least just on the quality of the things that are available. There's like at least it's not wimpy directly against Xbox. Right now, Xbox just has that extra. Extra, haha, pun. The extra thing of but our future first-party games are gonna launch here first. But right now, in non-release, just seeing the quality of these things, you can make the argument that a lot of the games on Extra are probably better than what's on Game Pass, just from a quality perspective. So.
Per capita.
Yes. Number 3, Paul. This broke today. Blizzard and NetEase have reportedly canceled a Warcraft MMORPG for mobile. This is posted by Tom Ivan, also from BGC News. According to Bloomberg, the game was going to be a massively multiplayer online role-playing title set in the same universe as World of Warcraft. Codenamed Neptune, it was reportedly planned as a spin-off of Blizzard's long-running PC title in a different time period. It's claimed the game was in the works for 3 years, with a team of over 100 NetEase developers attached to the project prior to its cancellation. Blizzard and NetEase, which publishes World of Warcraft in China and is also a co-creator of Diablo Immortal, are said to have cancelled the mobile game following a dispute over financial terms for the title. So I guess, like, they sure figured out that they couldn't monetize this new Warcraft game like they just did Diablo Immortal, so...
Oh, and I just looked at the little cinematic trailer for it, and it looks adorable, but it also looks absolutely like one of the cash grabs Blizzard would have done, so maybe they read the writing on the wall. It's just a shame that the people that worked on it don't get to see anything out of it, because what happens when you cancel something before release, all that work they did on it is proprietary information, so they can't release any of that work for other work that they need to get to live. And that I've realized that is really the cycle of artists, especially because you build all that, it comes out, and then you look for work and you use the work that you just did as your advertising for the next. So now they have to start from scratch, essentially, unless they get access to their own art, which really sucks. But for the company that is money grubbing and is trying to hide all of the really terrible harassment lawsuits and such they're going through, F them.
Yeah.
So
moving on.
There we go.
Number 4, Paul. This is probably of interest to you. New Pokemon Scarlet and Violet trailer shows off Ridable legendary Pokemon. A new Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet trailer has shown off Ridable legendary Pokemon as well as more of the Paldea region. Players will be able to traverse Paldea using new legendary Pokemon Koraidon exclusive to Scarlet and Miraidon exclusive to Violet, which they'll be able to ride, fly, and sail on. Trainers will embark on a treasure hunt which will serve as one of the main storylines. Traditional Pokemon gyms and gym leaders are also in the game. However, unlike in most Pokemon games, they can be approached in any order. I like that. The latest video, which is viewable in their YouTube channel and also in the BGC link of the story, also showed off some new Pokemon, including Paldean Wooper, a fresh variation of a Pokemon from Gold and Silver. Fido is a small dog made out of bread, and Setiten is a large ice-type Pokemon. Terrestrial Pokemon were also introduced, which is a new mechanic which changes the design and stats of your Pokemon. Terrestrial Pokemon are crystal-like and feature changes to their appearance, such as flowers and balloons on their heads.
I'm currently watching the trailer for it right now. That's really dope, actually.
Yeah.
So
this is the kind of thing you need to tell me to be like, okay, it seems like they're taking some of the traditional Pokemon stuff, like the tropes, and mixing and matching. And I will say, even though I was a very vocal critic of this game's visuals for what was it, Arceus earlier this year?
It was Legends Arceus.
Yeah, until I started seeing more of the character models and be like, yeah, it's like there's a charm to it.
Yeah.
The color palette of this, even though it still has the same unreliable engine, it's still like, yeah, it looks charming.
Unreliable engine.
Yes.
You mean Unreal Engine?
Yeah, no, unreliable. No, it's unreliable.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because.
Oh gosh, yeah. But at least they did upgrade a lot of the textures where a lot of the Pokemon look like the material they're made out of, rather than the same look to them. I mean, this is fantastic growth for them. Actually, learning from some of the process. I mean, just the fact that you get a legendary Pokemon that lets you ride it, but that also means that you're going to have to get it earlier on in the story, because usually, as everybody knows, the legendary Pokemon is one of the last things you
exactly. It's like an end game stuff for those games,
right? So,
and I feel this is like slowly being the realization of people saying, man, a Pokemon game a la Breath of the Wild will be cool. I feel those are the kind of design tenets of getting these things early to give you the free reign to tackle everything at your own volition. This is how you do it.
I think so as well. Merging the right stuff as much as they can. And actually, it's funny because we've been watching a recent 2021 Netflix show called Pokemon Journeys, which apparently is integrating a lot of aspects from like Pokemon Go into the normal like Pokemon storyline, which adds a lot of interest to like the world of Pokemon and how things actually work. So merging that wilderness aspect and like that wonder that all of us kids latched onto back into the actual games, I think is only going to help it. So
yes,
I'm hyped for it. This might actually get me interested way more than Sword and Shield did. But
Sword and Shield would just feel like slightly spruced up traditional Pokemon. This feels like like it has evolved. So
this actually feels like some Pokemon evolution.
Oh yes. Number 5, Paul. The next Tomb Raider could have Lara Croft leading a team of Tomb Raiders. That's according to a script allegedly being used to cast the unrevealed games actors, which was obtained and shared by the Sacred Symbols PlayStation podcast. That's one that I listened to.
Yeah.
This was a story posted by Andy Robinson. According to the alleged script, the next Tomb Raider is internally known as Project Jawbreaker and is described as an action-adventure game set in a modern-day world rocked by a mysterious cataclysm. According to the alleged casting notes for Lara, the project is looking to cast an authentic British actress in their mid-30s in the prototype of Emily Blunt or Rosamund Pike, and the role will involve romantic scenes with another female character. Lara Croft is now at the top of her game, the alleged script reads. Gone are the days of the young and experienced woman, dealing with matters of legacy and familial reckoning. Lara has let go of her childhood and fully embraced the life of an adventurer. Her legendary career has been lauded and printed in tabloids, tall tales of adventure that have inspired a new generation of Tomb Raiders to seek their fortunes in the world. With this new phase of her life, Lara fully accepts her place among the ruins. For many years, Lara plunged the depths of forgotten places, played cat and mouse with many nefarious opponents, and worked to uncover, preserve, and protect the lost secrets of the world, lest they fall into the wrong hands. The script then describes what appears to be a team setup for the new Tomb Raider, which could see multiple characters involved in the core gameplay. Additional Tomb Raiders have speaking roles in the alleged script, including characters Devendra and Tanvi. So, this sounds like a multiplayer Tomb Raider game.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about some of this, but I kind of got latched onto the fact they were like actress in her mid-30s and then lists Rosamund Pike, who's like in her late 40s.
Yeah.
So that's a little weird, but anyway, I mean, I like the concept because I like the idea of a character growing, obviously with my problems with several comics issues.
Yes.
Because they don't let their characters grow. And I feel like Tomb Raider was one of those things that was like, oh, we need to reinvent it every once in a while to not get stale, but like let Laura actually grow. I mean, one of the coolest things about going full circle with Assassin's Creed, the fact that Ezio gets older and the game changes around his age.
It's the coolest thing about that Ezio trilogy. It's seeing his growth.
Yeah, so it's like you get the growth of a character and change things to match that, and you get people that really emotionally invest in your character. But if you keep changing that constantly, you don't get anywhere with it. So I think this is the right direction for that. However, gameplay wise, not so sure about all of that. That worries me. The process that Laura is going to be kind of like your handler, like mentor character, but then like you get to play as one of these Tomb Raiders and then go on the many adventures outside of that. I'm like, this sounds too much like hub world into multiplayer shenanigans, live service.
It gives that vibe.
So I mean, if they don't do that, it's fantastic. I would love like just a solid story.
Yeah,
like,
you know what I would like is like, let's again, like it's so funny, like the chicken and the egg scenario. Tomb Raider inspired Uncharted, Uncharted inspired Tomb Raider. Take that further, because if you notice the reboot of Tomb Raiders, that 2013 one, Rise and Shadow, most of the time, even though you have a character that you interact with, you're mostly alone. Right. I could accept maybe them fully going the full Naughty Dog thing, and you're still a single player thing, but you're boosting each other, having the AI helping you. I love
that so much. I think one of the problems as well is like the Tomb Raider series isn't latched to one development team that's been working with it for years. Just like you said, how close that Naughty Dog team was for this process, it's not going to be one-to-one even if they tried, because you just don't get that kind of chemistry unless you've had these people working together for so long through a whole series even. I mean, granted with a few changing of hands, but it's overall the same.
Yeah, the thing is that this is Crystal Dynamics going back to Tomb Raider, because they haven't worked on Tomb Raider since Rise. Remember, Shadow was Eidos Montreal.
Did they do the original one as well, or was that?
Yeah. Crystal Dynamics has been doing all Tomb Raider since the PS2. Only Shadow of the Tomb Raider was done by Eidos Montreal, because Crystal Dynamics was working on Avengers, but they still wanted Tomb Raider to still exist.
And now I know that Square Enix got rid of the Tomb Raider IP. Who bought it again? It was like a
Embrace.
Name that
that's the thing, though. Square Enix sold. It's in the process of selling off Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal and Square Enix Montreal.
The development teams as well as the IP.
Yes, as the IP. They're taking the IP with them. Kind of like what they.
That's a little bit better. Okay.
Yeah. Kind of like what they did with IO Interactive. They sold off IO Interactive to be by themselves, and they gave them the Hitman IP because they knew that these franchises in the studio are like intrinsically tied. You can't like keep the franchise and have the people that work on them like not be there. So they just
without executive meddling, then this could be a really good return to form for them.
I will say this is especially no longer being on Square Enix, which there was like this story. Because there was this story that Games Industry.biz posted. It was like late last week, but too far off for me to put it here. But it was the former director, or more like the former president of Eidos Montreal, that left after Square Enix had absorbed Eidos Montreal because it used to be by itself. That he basically aired the dirty laundry, saying that Square Enix said they always wanted Western developers kind of be part of their portfolio, but they never knew how to properly support them. They never knew what their proper expectations were. That's why they were always the scapegoats whenever they were do the financials. Even though these games were million copy sellers, they were like, oh yeah, these games, it was always no fail. The Western games, oh yeah, these games failed to meet our expectations, even though they were selling the kind of numbers other studios would like die for. And then they did the same thing with Hitman. Hitman goes by itself, and now it's like, I was like, this is our biggest success ever. So them being with Embracer, I think now puts these franchises with more realistic expectations of what they should be selling. So, and probably the funniest thing about this story, they didn't put this follow up here. Square Enix basically confirmed this leak is real because they DMCA'd the podcast.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, and because I listened to that pod. Yeah, I listened to that podcast. That's one of the podcasts that I love listening to. It comes out on Friday if you're on if you listen to if you pay for their Patreon. The way they revealed this leak, they had two of the hosts literally read the dialogue in like fake accents. And the dude that made the fake accent for Lara, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. So it's so funny that they got DMCA'd over this, because that's the thing, like they were not showing leaked footage or anything, they were just reading the script, but they copyright
technically if you're reading the script, I guess that's technically not legal. So
but
that's really funny though.
Yeah, it was so funny, but that's the funny thing, when you do that, you're basically confirming it.
Yeah, I mean, what was the other thing that recently happened where they DMCA'd something that came out recently? And I can't remember it for the life.
I can't remember for the life of me either. God damn it. But I know
it was several weeks ago, and they just struck something down that really was, hey, this might be a thing. And then basically confirming it after the fact. But yeah, so needless to say.
I love when they do that, because it's like, the guys are fine, like they edited their podcast to remove that just from the Patreon version, because the reading, it's still in YouTube in their free feed. So it was so funny that they only got DMCA'd for one version of that podcast. So.
I mean, it's one of those things where a lot of those big companies have holes in where they can find things. So smaller re-uploads of stuff might be able to do it. It's funny that they found the Patreon version.
Yes.
That's what I would think would be less more under the radar. But anyway, so I hope that this new Tomb Raider ends up being good, and I'm glad for
I like that series.
I just hope the gameplay stays with it.
Yeah, I'm such, especially going through these Naughty Dog games that I'm going, and having recently gone through all the Uncharted, is I just miss that kind of like highbrow adventure. I miss it. We don't get it enough.
Too. They just need to include a lot more memorable characters.
Yes, and that's the thing I hate most about that Tomb Raider trilogy. Is like when you're playing moment to moment, those games are well designed. There's like some of even those core tenets made their way to God of War, like the wide linearity, the exploration, going back and forth. But they
really are built very similarly when you think about it.
Cory Barlog worked on the first Tomb Raider before going back to Sony Santa Monica, so he already knew. He copied that, but it's like, but to the better, because I feel that just makes those games just have a little extra meat in the bone that makes them deeper. Because that's the thing, like Uncharted 4 is a much better story. It looks much better than the Tomb Raider games, but those Tomb Raider games just play much better. But the thing is that sometimes you need... No, they absolutely...
I still don't agree with that.
I absolutely agree. They have much better shooting. You have much more depth with what you can upgrade and all that. Uncharted is just much more leaner. If you prefer something leaner, I appreciate it. The gunplay on Uncharted sucks in all of them. So
not in 4, I don't.
No, it absolutely sucks because of the when you shoot, there's like that thing when you're shooting a machine gun. There's like that sway that you have to like keep moving. This one you don't have to worry too much about the weapon sway.
I don't know. I just never felt like I could hit the same way in a Tomb Raider game compared to an Uncharted 4, at least. Uncharted, everything else sucked. And then Lost Legacy, I feel like improved it a lot.
No, but that's the thing. Like even Tomb Raider, your reticle becomes red in the way that Uncharted 4 does, and that's immediately an improvement.
So, I don't know. That I felt like that was just flavor. But anyway,
not flavor. That helps because it helps with the auto aim.
Yeah,
Uncharted makes everything about Uncharted, the character interactions, the memorable stories, the characters, that elevates their very simple gameplay. Gameplay is the only thing that Tomb Raider is much better than that, but that's not enough. If the characters were as memorable, it had as much stories, it would easily school the Uncharted series. But it goes to show you that sometimes having something decent, having everything else elevated, it's much better than having really great gameplay and graphics, but everything else forgettable. You don't even remember the name of the villains there. So
nope, not at all. And I barely remember the name of the cult military group or whatever called Trinity, only because they kept saying it every 3 sentences. But yeah, so
and I'll say it was like the only game that Naughty Dog that has actually legit great shooting is Last of Us Part 2. Number 6 and final story. This is for Dunk and Paul. Nier fans get sumped as Automata's secret area turns out to be an elaborate mod. It was never meant to blow up this big, says the mother. The hidden area was first discovered over a month ago when a Reddit user asked members of the Nier Automata Reddit why they were able to access the church when their friend couldn't. This was met with confusion as no such area was known to exist. In the past few days though, the user has been posting a series of videos showing them going through an inaccessible door and into a twisted white corridor. Each video has confused the community more, with some speculating that the user was playing on version 1.0 of the game. Adding to the confusion was the fact that the modding scene for Nier wasn't believed to be that advanced, certainly not to the point of reintroducing old content into a new area while integrating it into the game. It has now been revealed, however, that the mystery was designed to show off exactly that, a new set of open source modding tools that will allow the Nier community to create their own areas.
Wow, so that's what it was about. So I knew it was a mod after we kind of talked about that whole process, but the fact that it was just an entire like grassroots Capcom style advertising for their new open source process was really cool. And it's a shame that so many people the news moved faster than the person could like, hey guys, it's a mod, and they were like, oh my gosh, it's secret information and lore and stuff. But I mean, modding has come so far in general, and the fact that people can create so much out of nothing is amazing. Yeah,
this made me so sad because especially when our friend Duncan kind of like asked us if we were gonna talk about it, I was like, wait, what's happening? I thought it was gonna be one of those cool like secrets that everyone was like finding years after the fact.
And it's the game that would have that. So the fact that, I mean, it was so easy to jump into that. I mean, it's like you jumping on Abandoned. It's that kind of game and that kind of developer where that would happen. Yes. So you're like, this is just plausible enough to be real.
Especially for Yoko Taro and Nier, yeah.
It's such a shame that it wasn't that way, because I mean, obviously it's going to be open source for mods and people can jump in, but like the mystery's gone and console people aren't going to get access to any of that. So that's the real sad part out of that.
Yeah, so good one on the mod community for bamboozling a lot.
Shout out to Blender, the software, for being so good that it's just easily able to be implemented like that.
Absolutely, you should find like that. If you guys can't find this article at VGC, you'll see the video of the thing.
Yeah.
So, and that's the news for this week, Paul. So, the game releases for next week, August 7th to August 13th. So, 2 Point Campus releasing on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Releasing on August 9th. This is a game where you simulate managing a college campus.
Which this is the series
for like
from
2
the
Point Hospital.
people.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the
okay.
This is the campus version to 2 Point Hospital. So for
Good
the people that like that, it's like it's coming out on August 9th.
Kind of the new Sims process that doesn't monetize every single thing about
exactly, because Sims 4 is still like EA is like milking that cow for all it's worth.
Yep.
Lost in Play, releasing on Switch and PC on August 10th, is a cartoon narrative adventure in the vein of shows like Over the Garden Wall. So if you like cartoon narrative adventures, definitely check that out on August 10th. Looking at it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It just looked like something that Rooster Teeth made like 5
right.
to 10 years ago. And not to say that's a bad thing. Like that's a compliment. It just looks like a similar art style, so it might be the same artist.
Yes. So, Cult of the Lamb, the top-down action game where you play as the lambs that are gathered together to make a cult of satanic rituals, comes out on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC on August 11th. I'm definitely not playing that, even though I love that art style. I just hate the subject matter so much.
Yeah, it's a bit freaky.
Yes. Rumble Burst, releasing on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, coming out on August 11th, and it's a wrestling-themed battle royale game. It actually looks kind of interesting.
I remember when the cinematic trailer came out at one of the game conferences, and I was like, oh, I wonder what this is about. And they were like, Rumbleverse. And I said, oh, that sounds like a one of the free-to-play battle royales. Not going to be playing it. And sure enough, nothing about it looks like anything I would like.
Yeah. And finally, Marvel Spider-Man comes to PC on August 12th. That doesn't need any description. It's
the mods alone are what I really want to see.
It's like just what the mod community has been able to do with God of War, the Simpsons one that I always, if I need to laugh, I just go back to it. It's just so freaking good.
I can't believe that one's as good as it is. For anybody that doesn't know, somebody replaced Kratos with Homer Simpson. Bart is Atreus, and Balder was
Ned Flanders.
Yes, Ned Flanders, with actual dialogue from the show.
Yeah.
In the fight of Kratos versus Balder, and it is just the funniest nonsense. And all of the dialogue fits with the action beats. It's perfect. So
yeah, it's like I tell you, the mod. That's the thing that I'm not a PC player, but God bless the mod community for the things that they're able to put, especially them.
Final Fantasy 17, Final Fantasy 7 modded.
Yeah.
The remake has been impressive as well. So
yeah, and also very lewd.
That is also true. But the fact that I'm thinking the funny stuff, but you're absolutely right. Yeah. There was a lot of that as well.
Yeah, Tifa really got the brunt of the lewdness there.
Poor Tifa. She's so innocent.
So, you gonna play any of these, Paul?
Well, no. No, yeah. I don't think I will. I'm waiting for maybe Saints Row. If it's good.
Saints Row is way farther. We're gonna talk about that like probably in like 2 weeks.
I think that's the 18th.
23.
23. Okay, shoot. Okay.
The day that Destiny has the showcase for Lightfall.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna have to do a react like we did Witch Queen.
Talk about that. That was a fun reaction for Witch Queen. So I'm hoping for some of that. Wait, real quick for Destiny, does their next season start next week, or is that later? When is that?
It starts the same day of the showcase, like it was last time.
Oh my gosh!
That season of the
law. Why I thought that they said Solstice would go through the last of the season, and then with it ending all of a sudden.
Yeah,
do they even have anything going on for the next amount of time to cover?
It's just that time. It's just that time. Use it to do things you haven't done.
I feel like they should have allowed Solstice to last for another week.
Yeah, Solstice has always been a month.
It doesn't feel like it was a month.
It really was, and it was. That's what's so funny. When I look back, when I saw that they recently patched it to, if you're trying to get all characters, there's like they added like a boost to complete the objectives. Like
going that route.
Yeah, so for this week. But I'm like, I already like my armor, so you guys have fun. I'll be back on Destiny on August 23rd. So that's when we'll learn the details about Lightfall. That's when we'll learn what the name of the new season is, and we'll know what the reprised raid is going to be.
Do you know if there's going to be any continuation for the season's campaign like they did last time, or they decided not to do that?
What do you mean?
You know how like the last season ended where they had like that last little gameplay campaign mission
So remember, there's still 2 more seasons. So it's like
well, I mean, like, didn't they still have a little something for the end of seasons before that? Or
the thing is that the seasons last a year. At least it lasts through the entirety of this year cycle. So the season that came out with Witch Queen, it's still there, Risen. You can still play the Psyops Battlegrounds. Even when with these new seasons, the Season of the Haunted stuff, the Sever missions, and the dungeon, and the Leviathan, those activities are still going to be there, and the stories are going to be available for people that didn't do them.
Okay, got
it. And then obviously they're going to bolt on top of those whatever they're doing for season 18, which is the one that's bringing that new raid and the Art 3.0, completing finally the 3.0fication of the entire subclass system. And then after that, there's going to be one more season, season 19, which would have been like, it's equivalent of Season of the Lost last year. The only difference is that when we got Season of the Lost, that was the last season before Witch Queen. This time they're doing the showcase with 2 seasons to go. So.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, so season 19 is going to be the one that's going to last the less time before everything gets like shelved. Right now there's you can see if you follow Paul Tassi, he made a video right now one of the things that is ailing Destiny right now is the fact that they are still not budging on the Destiny content vault, that they're removing stuff and all that. And I reached the point where I agree, because I hate that we were talking about in our chat with you that you came back at the game at the perfect time where you had people willing to help you. The fact that that's kind of like the expectation they want any new player to have, hoping that their friends get them through. F that. It's like, before you can be like, just play the campaigns in order. Red War, Curse of Osiris, Worm, and even if some of those were not very good. Even Forsaken, but you just at least had a narrative there. The thing is that they're so adamant on saying that they don't want the file size to be that big. I'm like, it's still 90 gigs. I mean, if Call of Duty can get away with it, let's just figure it out. It's like, if you want your game to grow, you cannot be bringing people in halfway through the story. Yeah. And I love the Witch Queen. The Witch Queen's amazing campaign.
It's great, but none of what they have right now is an onboarding point for people.
No. It's like, the only way that you can onboard people will just be like, just ignore the story, enjoy the gameplay. That's the only way that I can that I can onboard someone into the Witch Queen. I would hope that they're trying to tackle something with that with Lightfall. Because there has to be a way to bring back a bunch of that old stuff.
I hope so, because I mean, I was just thinking about how I was able to play on release, but even free-to-play people, like, what do they have to play at this point? Because that's what it used to be.
Yeah, when the game went free to play, the Red War, Curse of Osiris, and Warmind and its attached raids were available for free. They got that completely. Then Forsaken was paid for a little bit. Then they decided, oh yeah, we're also not going to be removing Forsaken, the game's best expansion before Witch Queen. And so people are still arguing for Forsaken as an overall expansion was stronger than Witch Queen. Witch Queen probably has a stronger campaign, but Forsaken did more for the entirety of the game. Like, right now, at least the strikes had new strikes. There were new maps. Gambit had just been added. Right now, Witch Queen did everything for the seasonal stuff, and the campaign was great, but the playlists are like DOA. So
I'm almost like, you should just have them as separate entities entirely. Just like, all right, here's a separate download for the campaigns, like what Call of Duty does. Mm-hmm. Play through that to get through it, and then here's the rest of the game.
Or even better, they should have just done a Destiny 3. Because then that way, because right now they're in that ethical dilemma of having to remove paid-for content, and I think it's gonna boil over. So,
I mean, eventually, it's already gotten bad enough that they were able to somehow give us 100 extra vault space because they literally have more guns and items than you can vault. It's just
they just have to cheat those PS4, Xbox One versions. Just send them away now. It's time. So.
Who knows what's going to happen next, but yep.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll see. For now. Yeah, that's everything for now, Paul. So, where can people find you?
As always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter, where I post regular-ish art. Actually, I have one piece of unrelated art to everything else that I've been doing lately. My first D&D session, and I made like a quick sketch of myself and the 3 friends that were with me at the time doing it, and that was really entertaining. I posted it on my Facebook, but I should put that on Twitter today. Besides that, just memes and funny videos. Now, Alejandro, where can they find you?
They can find me at _Dorsegovia on Twitter. They can find my Instagram at AlejandroSegovia93, and they can find my written content that's finally gonna start receiving new stuff at thecriticalcorner.com. So, Paul, it's always a pleasure. I'll see you next week. Hopefully we start getting a little bit more meat because it's been quite a hellishly barren summer. So
I feel like we've eaten pretty good earlier on in the summer, but this is where the desert is right now. But yeah. I think it's going to be breaking pretty soon.
Yeah, I compared to last summer, and I feel it's been even more barren than last year, which is crazy. But
sometimes it feels like it.
Yes, but thank you, pandemic. So everyone stay safe, stay healthy, be careful with the monkeypox. Don't be doing heinous stuff there to contract it. And remember,
press X
to play.
Good night, everybody.
Hasta luego.